Coming up on Valley View News, a small Salvadorian restaurant in Pico Union reinvents the pupusa with a little bit of American twist. Plus, a 6-month project honoring Native Americans had its moment in the sun. Washing Waters is the largest above-ground mural in the San Fernando Valley. And young Latinos learn more about their culture by performing traditional dances.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Luis Zuniga.
And I'm Ricardo Sandoval.
CAL FIRE is suing In-N-Out for a 2017 wildfire in Arroyo Grande. CAL FIRE says the fire was caused by a tractor mowing grass on an In-N-Out property. The tractor was allegedly covered in annual grasses and scattered brush, resulting in flammable vegetation. The fire burned for 4 days and burned 245 acres. CAL FIRE is seeking $1.2 million to recoup costs.
Firefighters responded to a fire of an abandoned building in Van Nuys on Sunday. Fire officials say the blaze is suspicious because there was a fire on all 5 floors, which usually does not happen. Officials also evacuated an encampment of homeless people living in an adjacent parking lot in order to keep them safe from falling debris. Investigators are trying to look into what started the blaze.
6 people fell ill on board a dock cruise ship at the port of Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Fire Department responded to the incident on the Norwegian cruise ship. Fire officials say 4 passengers were taken to local hospitals. One passenger says the crew washed down everything in the dining area before sitting new people down. A cause for the illness hasn't been determined.
A small restaurant in LA is giving Salvadorian dishes an extra touch while combining different cultures in them. Valley View's Ana Ramos combines English and Spanish to complete this culinary story.
Wondering what that is? Well, that's a pupusa. Bienvenidos to La Pupusa Urban Eatery, a modern Salvadoran restaurant between Washington Boulevard and Pico Union. Founded in 2017 by couple Juan and Stephanie, this Salvadoran restaurant has a mission: bring something different to the Angelinos.
We're not a typical Salvadoran restaurant. We're not traditional at all. Our style is more urban.
Here you can find
Ofrecemos bistec encebollado, como sopa de gallina, sopa de pata, sopa de res, empanadas, yuca.
But aside from the traditional Salvadoran food that we typically eat, La Pupusa makes its food go from the usual to the extraordinary with an LA twist.
Meet La Mañanera.
Es una pupusa típica.
It's a typical pupusa with 2 eggs on top, salsa, rice, and Salvadoran cream.
And La Mexicana, a pupusa topped with meat, pico de gallo, guacamole, cream, and cheese, just like a taco.
Our food ideas come from all the different cultures here in LA, the cultures we are surrounded with. We combine Salvadoran dishes with other foods we see here.
The unique food styles shared on their social media make many people want to visit from different parts of the world.
This is my first time. I came from Australia to try this food. I've been following them on Instagram for a while now, and I had to come try the food while I'm in LA.
So if you're ever craving Salvadoran food with an extra touch, you know where to go. And remember, never eat pupusas with a fork. In Los Angeles, I'm Ana Ramos for Valley View News.
The largest above-ground mural in the San Fernando Valley is now in Pacoima. This mural was a 6-month-long project. Muralist and CSUN grad Levi Ponce says he wants to pay tribute to the rich Native American history in the San Fernando Valley. The project was founded by Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez. She says the mural will honor a stunning reflection of the Pacoima community and history.
Before this, there was nothing but blight at this intersection. It's one of the biggest arteries of traffic for this area, and it's a huge welcome for this area. So it's an incredible transformation for both visitors and people, locals, people who live here already.
For an area that has historically had underinvestment in infrastructure, in art installations, this is going to be transformative for this area, and it's just a step in the right direction to all the progress that I'm proud to continue to shepherd as the councilwoman for this area, and working in partnership with local artists. We're going to continue to do more great work.
The mural is inspired by the community's cultural roots that represents its past, present, and future.
Meanwhile, some young Latinos are creating their own identity in the U.S., but learning about their culture can be tricky, being far away from their parents' homelands. Valley View News reporter Salvin Rodas has a story in English and Spanish about a Latina who is keeping her Mexican identity alive.
Many parents of young Latinos say they worry their children won't grow up with the same appreciation for their own culture because they're not surrounded by it. But some parents celebrate their heritage by teaching their kids activities they grew up with. Hay más de 35 millones de jóvenes latinos viviendo en los Estados Unidos y para muchos de ellos es muy importante aprender acerca de su cultura. Este es el caso de Natalie Barba, quien es parte de un grupo folclórico. Dice que hay mucho que aprender sobre la cultura latina.
They can learn about their own culture, all the art and music Mexico has to offer. I think it's nice that younger generations have the opportunity to learn about it.
Natalie fue inscrita al grupo folclórico Nuestras Raíces cuando tenía 9 años. Su mamá, Soy la Barba, dice que le inculcó las danzas folclóricas a su hija porque es una forma de aprender acerca de sus raíces.
When I was younger in my dance classes, I was always the first one to raise my hand to participate. When I discovered there was the opportunity for my daughter to learn folkloric dancing here, I wanted her to learn about our own Mexican culture.
En Nuestras Raíces, los estudiantes pueden aprender variedades de danzas tradicionales. Argelia Andrade, directora del grupo, dice que se manejan danzas mexicanas.
You can dance without shoes or with huaraches, a traditional Mexican shoe. Some people prefer to use regular dance shoes or even boots.
Research shows that 1 million Latinos will turn 18 this year and every year for the next 2 decades, and more Latinos are finding communities they belong to. I'm Selvin Rodas, back to you to the studio.
The Las Vegas Review-Journal found that more than 50,000 Californians moved to Nevada from July 2017 to July 2018. This accounted for nearly 40% of total number of people who moved from another state during that time. Some believe the large migration of Californians moving to Nevada is a result of the no state income taxes and a lower cost of living. Census figures found that in total, 127,000 people moved to Nevada from other states, and another 14,000 people moved there from abroad.
Chinese businesswoman Eugene Zhang could be headed to prison for trespassing into President Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. Prosecutors want Zhang to get 18 months in prison. The 33-year-old Shanghai consultant was convicted in September for her March trespassing arrest, and she was also charged with lying to Secret Service agents who arrested her. Zhang was caught with 4 cell phones, a computer, and an external hard drive. Text messages presented at trial suggested she's obsessed with Trump.
In Alabama, officials say a Purdue University student died after falling into a 200-foot cave in Jackson County. The sheriff says the student was attempting to adjust a loose rig. He was with 4 other experienced cavers. The other cavers had to exit the cave for help. They then walked another 2 miles to get cell phone signal.
The Cambodian American community is small. Still, it can be hard to get information about what's happening. Valley View News reporter Timothy Tien has a story of one small station that's trying to close the communications gap in the Cambodian community.
A green screen lines Khmer TV's walls. 2 anchors sit at a desk. They hope to bring information about the Cambodian American or Khmer population to its people. Tony Lai started his Bellflower-based station because he used to struggle with finding information about his community.
I have no idea that they have the parades. I have no idea that they have Cambodian town exist. You know, you live right here but because you don't have information.
Ready on 5, 4, 3.
And it's not just the Khmer community he's trying to reach. Lai says he wants to find ways to bring Cambodian culture into mainstream American culture.
I sponsor the Cambodian dancer, they call Khmer art. I sponsor them to go out and dance so that way at least it shows our culture to other people.
When they call in, they're going to call into the phone.
He does this to give Khmer people a voice. Kampik Va says the Cambodian community is hugely underrepresented in media.
When I go to these events, there's not that many news outlets and there's not much coverage.
Khmer TV also offers up studio space like this for students to use for free. This gives them a place and an opportunity for them to learn and get off the streets. Reporting from Bellflower for Valley View News, I'm Timothy Tien.
The Supreme Court refused to review the case of Adnan Syed. He was the prisoner featured in the first season of the podcast Serial. The justices wouldn't rule on a Maryland Court of Appeals decision opposing a retrial for him. Syed is serving a life sentence for killing his girlfriend. The Supreme Court wouldn't take the case, saying Syed had ineffective counsel after his attorney died.
Former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg says he's running for president in 2020. Bloomberg said he wants to get Trump out of the White House. He claims he's a more moderate candidate with a moderate vision for the country. He says he's a doer, not a talker. The Boston native says he doesn't believe any of the Democratic candidates have a shot at beating Trump. Bloomberg bought $37 million worth of advertisements that will run for the next 2 weeks.
Ex-Trump aide George Papadopoulos announced his bid for California's 25th congressional district seat. The seat was vacated by Democrat Katie Hill. The former Trump aide teased the announcement and filed paperwork with the Federal Election Commission. The seat was in GOP hands for 26 years until Hill won it in the 2018 midterm election.
Secretary of Defense Mark Esper fired Navy Secretary Richard Spencer on Sunday. His termination results from a loss of confidence over his handling of the case of Chief Petty Officer Edward Gallagher. Gallagher is accused of committing war crimes during his 2017 deployment to Iraq. President Trump weighed in on Spencer's termination on Twitter. He thanked him for his service and commitment. Spencer allegedly privately told the White House that he'd ensure Gallagher retired as a Navy SEAL. That contradicted his public stance on the case. While Spencer didn't mention making a proposal in a letter to President Trump, he did acknowledge his termination, and he says he tried to ensure the legal proceedings would be fair.
Well, Itayetsi, do you think my outfit could have made the AMA's red carpet?
Oh no, I don't think so. But let me tell you about some AMA performances. The 2019 American Music Awards were filled with jaw-dropping performances of this year's biggest artists. Starting performances from the artist of the decade, Taylor Swift, to Toni Braxton wowing the audience performing her biggest throwbacks. After 2 years, Selena Gomez returned to the AMA stage to perform her new singles, Lose You to Love Me and Look at Her Now. Ciara did not stay behind. Not only did she host the AMAs, but she also performed her latest hit, Melanin, along a legendary performance by Post Malone, Travis Scott, and Ozzy Osbourne, as they performed Take What You Want. To close the night, Shania Twain performed a medley filled with some of music's biggest hits. Twain, who hasn't performed on the AMA stage in over 16 years, left the audience speechless. Not only were the 2019 AMAs filled with amazing performances by Lizzo, Travis Scott, and Ciara, amongst others, but many of them also took home trophies for winning in their nominated categories. Taylor Swift broke record for the most won AMAs of all time, winning 23 throughout her career. Behind her followed Carrie Underwood, who broke another record for the most wins in the favorite country album category. Post Malone did not stay behind, being nominated for 7 categories, including Artist of the Year and winning Favorite Rap Hip Hop Album. After multiple nominations, Halsey, Lil Nas X, and Billie Eilish also took home their first AMA. Over $350 million worth of jewelry was robbed from rapper Iggy Azalea's and Playboy Cardi's Atlanta home. According to police, the rapper's home was broken into in less than 10 minutes. It is said the robber entered the couple's home through the back door, which was left unlocked for Cardi. The robber then took a designer bag filled with millions of dollars worth of jewelry. In it were items like a $35,000 engagement ring, 7 diamond rings, and 2 rose gold diamond chains. Most of the pieces stolen belonged to Cardi. K-pop star Gohara was found dead last weekend. The cause of her death is still unknown. However, police are calling it a suicide. This comes after the singer attempted suicide back in May when her ex-boyfriend began to blackmail her. She was then found unconscious in her Seoul home after posting the word goodbye on her Instagram account. She later apologized to her fans for causing concern, saying she was recovering from many things, but that she'd get herself up. After the attempt, her agency terminated her contract, but in June, she signed a new contract with Ogi, where she gained popularity. Hara is not the first K-pop star to die by suicide this year. Disney's Frozen 2 set new records at the box office. The animation grossed an estimated $127 million in the US and $350 million worldwide. The Associated Press says a sequel to Frozen is the largest opening to have been released by Disney. Frozen 2 is on its way on becoming the company's sixth film to have made more than $1 billion. The original film grossed $1.27 billion and remained in the top 10 for 17 weeks. Disney distributor chief says they hope to have a good run during the holidays since kids are out of school. That's all for your entertainment news. I am Itayetsi Angeles.
I wonder what's going on campus this week, Luis.
Let's find out. For this week's headlines, let's go to Sundial's Andrea Esparza. Andrea?
Thank you. This week at the Sundial, we used our platform to display student art in our Arts and Literature issue, which is now available. And make sure to tune in online for new and updated content. That sums it up here at the Sundial. Thank you, and back to you.
More to come on Valley View News. Australian wildfires are affecting the koala population.
And now's the time to stop eating salads. The CDC issues another warning about romaine lettuce. Stay with us.
Let's hear from Itayetsi Angeles in our digital media center with the latest headlines from around the globe.
Hong Kong protesters were attacked by police last weekend. Police sprayed hundreds of them with blue dye from a water cannon. The attack started 17 weekends ago after Hong Kong instituted an extradition bill allowing officials to detain and extradite fugitives to China. The law was later reversed, but the protest against heavy-handed Chinese government influence continues. Meanwhile, police say they are concerned for the public safety since violence has increased over time. This week is the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China. A parade and banquet was thrown on the eve of the anniversary last weekend in Hong Kong. Angry demonstrators protested what they say is a slow erosion of Hong Kong's democratic freedoms. The violence between police and protesters has escalated in the past 17 weeks. Some protest leaders claim there won't be protests or violence in Hong Kong during the holiday. Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman took full responsibility for the murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Khashoggi was killed and dismembered last October inside the Saudi consulate in Turkey. Bin Salman denied any personal involvement with the murder. He called it a wicked crime, but as a leader, he takes full responsibility, mainly because the crime was committed by officials working for the Saudi government. Though the prince says he wasn't involved, a United Nations investigator released a report last June with information linking the prince to Khashoggi's death. More than 100 people have died from flooding in two Indian states, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. The National Disaster Management Chief says thousands were evacuated. Officials say it's the worst flooding in decades. Schools were closed and boats were used to rescue residents. Some people complain that aid isn't coming fast enough, but government officials say they are doing everything they can to rescue everyone. A multi-million-dollar car collection was auctioned off in Switzerland Sunday. The luxury supercars were seized in a 2016 corruption probe in Equatorial Guinea. They were allegedly being used to launder money through government programs. 25 cars were sold, the most valuable one, a Lamborghini Veneno, sold for more than $8 million. That is all for international news. Now back to you in the studio.
Governor Gavin Newsom signed the California Fair Pay to Play Act. Newsom claims the law will adjust the balance of power in NCAA college sports.
It's going to initiate dozens of other states to introduce similar legislation, and it's going to change college sports for the better by having now the interests, finally, of the athletes.
NCAA officials oppose the bill, but now say they'll adjust to the new rules. The law takes effect in 2023. It lets college athletes hire agents and make money from endorsements. Newsom thinks other states will soon do the same.
Lincoln High School's basketball teams in Los Angeles is taking the term student athlete to heart. Valley View News reporter Ricardo Sandoval explains.
The Lincoln High School basketball program is dedicated to helping its student athletes beyond the court. Fedna Pierre-Louis seeks to create an environment that emphasizes education. so he makes sure they tutor and learn together.
Learn to support one another and just builds team. We do everything together, so it just really helps to build a concept of team for us.
Lincoln's junior varsity head coach Thomas Irwin is a big supporter of the school's academic culture. He says it's important to honor student athletes who get good grades. He loves how the students set high standards for themselves.
By tutoring as a team, it reinforces the message that we are all in this together, right? Guys who are doing well can set a good example for guys who maybe are struggling. Guys who are struggling can go ask help of guys who are doing well.
The love and togetherness that Lincoln's basketball program has is like no other. These student athletes care for one another and their coaches. The effect these coaches have on their kids beyond basketball is phenomenal. It's a pleasure to witness.
My coaches are always looking out for me. Like if I ever needed something, I know they'll be there for me. Or if I'm struggling or something, they'll keep me in check. So yeah, I think they do care.
The Lincoln Tigers are focused on capturing the city title and expanding their education as a team. In Lincoln Heights, I'm Ricardo Sandoval from Valley View News.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found that humans are easily infected by animals. A new CDC report shows that a 77-year-old man hunting deer caught tuberculosis through an infected deer. Reports say he might have inhaled infectious pathogens while removing the deer's organs. Though bovine tuberculosis and human tuberculosis are two different infections, they share similar symptoms. The CDC says anyone who works closely with animals or consumes dairy products is at risk. It recommends people make sure all products they consume are pasteurized.
CVS has stopped selling Zantac as well as its generic brand versions. The pharmacy says they've halted the sale of heartburn medication over health concerns, mainly because the medication contains nitrosamine. It's an impurity known as NDMA and is linked to cancer. Numerous recalls for the medication have been made since the FDA found high levels of NDMA. The FDA has not recommended people stop using Zantac, but CVS says customers who have already bought Zantac can get refunds.
Pharmacists in an English countryside are producing cannabis-based medicine for people with epilepsy. The drug can help treat two rare types of epilepsy. The head manufacturer says the process has been difficult. The director of the Autism and Obsessive Compulsive Spectrum program hopes the medicine can treat autism symptoms since it's been successful in lowering seizures. Epilepsy and autism both share similar behavioral symptoms. At the moment, there isn't a cure for autism. Meanwhile, Washington State is banning flavored vaping products. Governor Jay Inslee says he won't wait for the tobacco industry to determine the risk of vaping.
We won't trust them with our health. We won't trust them with our children's health. Their interest is in making money. Our interest is in protecting the health of our children. We are interested in ensuring that adults and young people have known and regulated ingredients in these products and have information about them.
Inslee's executive order will ban all flavored vaping products, including THC products. He hopes the State Board of Health will vote on his executive order on October 9th. Coming up on Valley View News, a man finds a missing iPhone in the ocean.
Also, scientists may have saved avocados from climate change. Stay with us.
And according to a research by GLAAD, a pro-LGBT organization, people ages 18 through 34 are more uncomfortable with LGBT people in personal situations. On the other hand, 8 out of 10 Americans say they support equal rights for the LGBT community. That's all from me. Back to you in the studio.
The Saugus High School incident marks a total of 369 shootings that have been happening all around the U.S. In Northridge, for Valley View News, I'm Elena Tovar.